also Alumni Day here at Concord, where our Career Services Office has invited alumni from across all disciplines to come and speak to students and talk to them. And we're lucky today to have 4 of our fairly recent graduates with us. We have Matt Belcher, who graduated in 2011, and he is with Energy Corporation of America in Charleston. We have Ryan Prince, who just graduated a year ago in 12, or Andrew Prince, I'm sorry. He goes by either one. He's with Elliott Davis out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And then we also have Adam Pauley, who is a very recent graduate, 2013, and Beth Farley, an 07 graduate, and they are both with Suttle and Stoniker in Charleston, West Virginia. So they're here just to, I think, share a little bit about what they've been doing, their career paths and so forth, and I think they're willing to take many, many questions from you all and do that. So welcome, alumni. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Are there any accounting students in here? Very good. I graduated from Concord in 2007 with my bachelor in business administration and a concentration in accounting. When I started going to school, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I liked math, so I thought maybe accounting would be a good fit. It turns out my job isn't much math at all. We add, subtract, and sometimes multiply and divide. I never thought when I was in school, what am I going to do after school? How am I going to get a job? I didn't go to any of the career fairs. I didn't really talk to any of the counselors here about it. I was kind of burnt out on school. By the time I graduated, I wanted to take some time off, and I didn't even start looking for a job until about 6 months after I graduated, and it took about 6 months to find a job. I kind of fell into it. The Suttle and Stoniker had a big contract. They needed to hire 3 more people, and I needed a job. They interviewed me. It was a incredibly hard interview. It was very stressful. It was 4 people that interviewed me for about 4 hours. But they asked me if I wanted tax or audit. I told them I wanted tax because I had experience in tax. They said, well, hiring for audit, and I said, okay, I'll take audit. I need a job. I need to start paying back my student loans. So when I started, it was kind of getting thrown into the fire at that point. I didn't really know the difference between debits and credits and how to make journal entries, and they had me doing financial statements. So that was kind of a challenge. I started out working on some smaller governments, and I thought, I really like this. I'm helping people. About 3 months later, I realized nobody likes auditors. People hate me. It's horrible. I've been doing it. I'm working on my 7th year. I'm back to, I help people now. So some people aren't going to like it if you're an auditor. We're not terrible, but people call you, they need help. About 2 years in, you start to think, man, I really got this down. I know what I'm doing. And then year 3, you start to transition, become a senior supervisor, manager, and you have absolutely no idea what you're doing all over again. You're always learning, growing. Some of the best things about my job is if you're in public accounting, you're always learning something new. That's something that I really liked in school, was always being challenged, always learning something. You're thrown into different situations, different clients, and you're always learning and growing from your experiences. You're never bored. You get to work with a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds. I think one of my favorite things about my job is the relationships that I get to build with other people. You work with the same people for 7 years. They start calling you when they have a problem, and it really feels good if you know how to fix that problem for them, if you can help them. And if you don't know the answer, you can find the answer. You know someone that knows the answer. One of the other good things about it is it's really hard to get stuck in public accounting. If you want to advance in your career, if you want to climb the ladder, that is a really good place for you to be. If you go into a private sector, you're working somewhere, basically someone has to quit for you to move up. Someone has to retire. But if you're in public accounting, if you work hard, you're going to move up. There's always that space. I'm really lucky that I got into Settle and Stoniker. I'm a little biased. I feel like it's a really good place to work. All of my managers, the partners, will sit down and talk with you. They want to help you. About between 3 and 5, you kind of figure out, do I like doing this or do I not like doing this? If you don't like doing it, they will help you find another job that's a better fit for you. If you really want to do it, they're going to help you by letting you do things like this, by letting you do board presentations at meetings, do cost proposals for jobs. They want to see you succeed. And the last thing that I thought was really important that I liked about my job was I liked figuring out problems. There's always problems. A lot of things in accounting are black and white, but there's gray areas that you kind of have to have a lot of judgment. So I enjoy that. Advice that I have for you guys is first ask questions. We want you to try to figure out what you're doing, but you don't really want to spin your wheels either. So if you can't figure it out, ask somebody. They will help you. Go to career fairs. Go to the Society Career Fair if you're an accounting major. They have it every year. They've already had it this year. Most accounting firms have already hired for next year by now, interns and everything. And things come up, and there are several people that we have that have not gotten their job that way because we have new contracts coming in, but we do a lot of our hiring through the career fairs, through internships and stuff like that. And I think probably I have 2 more things. So the first one is pass your CPA as soon as possible. I did not do that. I waited until I was about 2 years in, and I was really, really busy. If you can pass it within your first year, that is the best case scenario. Everybody has a busy season. You're not really going to be able to study and take the exam during that time. Most of your public accounting firms are going to pay for that for you, and they're going to have a bonus structure that if you pass it within 3 years, you're going to get some kind of a bonus. So that is the most important thing that you can do. And the other thing is to never compare yourself to other people, because that's just going to slow you down. It's going to hinder your progress. You cannot compare yourself to the people that you graduated with. Well, they've already got a good job. They're already here. I started with this person and they got promoted before me. You cannot compare yourself to other people, because that's just going to hinder your progress. So, all right, I think I'll turn it over to Adam. Adam Pauly is my buddy. We're assigned mentors on our first days. Before you get a mentor, you get a buddy. So
we're buddies.
We're buddies.
Which really means I just ask questions all day.
Yeah. And I try to answer them.
And so as Beth said, my name is Adam Pauly. I studied accounting here at Concord. I knocked out the 150 hours in the 4 years to set for my CPA license. And then West Virginia University came to a symposium here when we were recruiting students, and I actually received an assistantship to pursue my master's. So I headed to Morgantown for a year, and the program in Morgantown is a year long. But while I was at Concord, like I said, I did 150 hours for the accounting to kind of meet that requirement for the CPA. And I also did a semester abroad at the University of Salzburg in Austria. And if any of you are considering studying abroad, it's definitely a rewarding and worldly experience. And I think that out of all the interviews and all the processes that I completed over the past year, it was the one thing that kept coming up over and over, and like potential employers were really receptive of that, and they were really interested in that. So I would recommend, I guess, pursuing and maybe researching that a little bit if you're slightly interested. I did recently graduate in 2013 from Concord, and then I went directly to Morgantown for a year to WVU. Their master's program in accounting is just a year period. You can start either in the summer or you can start traditionally in the fall, and it runs a fall, a spring, and a summer term. So you actually get finished in about 10 months. It's a really good program. It's very fast-paced because you're taking 12 to 15 hours of graduate level courses. But it's kind of like the setting as a regular undergrad. Of course, you're with graduate students only, but the classes are I guess, somewhat structured. I think the accounting kind of changes from a lot of the compilations that we're used to here at Concord. You get into more advanced courses, and I think there's a lot of research components to the graduate or to the master's program, which is really, I think it's beneficial to make you a better accountant, to make you a better professional. But it was also really exciting because I had only been working for Settle & Sonaker for maybe a couple of weeks, and one of the managers was talking about this issue in the hallway with a partner. And I said, I did some research on that at West Virginia, and they were like, okay, well, you can start researching it. And I pulled up some databases, and I knew how to work on it. I was kind of helping them, so it was kind of rewarding that I kind of already knew kind of how to research it and to perform some of those functions. I worked as a research assistant in Morgantown with Dr. Riley and Dr. Niedermeyer, not Dr. Niedermeyer, but Dr. Fleming, and some with Dr. Niedermeyer, but mostly Dr. Riley. And he's a renowned research scholar in kind of the realm of fraud and forensic accounting. He's written a couple of different books, and he actually travels, he globetrots. I mean, he goes to a lot of different countries, and he helps different countries set up like the Securities and Exchange Commission, and like the PCA, like government regulation and government entities. He was gone several times to a couple of different countries while I worked for him, and he was doing some consulting work and helping those countries kind of get on their feet with regulations, which I think was kind of interesting. And I think a lot at Concord, and I think in a lot of accounting classes, like you see the PCAOB and you read about the Securities and Exchange Commission and all these government agencies, and I always thought to myself, I'll probably never really, I guess, get to interact with them. They'll always set the rules and kind of for the profession, but probably not, I guess, immediately I'll have a lot of interaction with them. And during my research assistantship, I was actually on the phone with the Securities and Exchange Commission every other week, asking them questions and looking for filings. And when the government notoriously shut down, that was fun because they're a government agency, so they kind of shut down, and our research was on Sol. So it's kind of funny how, I guess, the world professionally in business and government kind of works together, and you kind of get those setbacks. But I think it grows you as an individual. Morgantown, the program in Morgantown, they're really pressing on a mountaineer track system. And I think there's an affiliation here now with the students pursuing the MPA. And basically it's a job search kind of portal that students kind of have access to. Morgantown's a much larger school, and there's a lot more employers, all of the big four firms, and a lot of your regional firms and small businesses and even corporations do a lot of recruiting out of Morgantown, and they really prep you for that. And you go to things like Meet the Firms Night, and then a lot of the firms will actually have private, I guess, kind of receptions for students interested in working for them, and they'll kind of get to know you over the course of a couple of weeks, and they'll begin their formal interview process. So that's kind of an interesting piece. I am very new to Settle & Sonaker. I started June 30th, so I've been there just a little over 3 months. I'm an entry-level staff accountant. That's my title. I'm working in the audit and assurance services portion of the firm, and we do a lot of auditing. We're very busy right now with a lot of different government entities and nonprofits and that sort of thing. So it's definitely interesting. A lot of people say, are you going to choose tax or are you going to choose audit? And I think that it's kind of important to be open-minded to either side, because I kind of lean more towards tax, but I'm really pleased with audit and what I'm learning and how I'm applying what I've learned in the classroom kind of to the work I'm doing now. I think something interesting, kind of unique to audit, is you get to travel a lot. Some people like to travel. I like to travel. So we've been out of town maybe for 4 weeks and over different parts of the state, and you get to meet a lot of different people. So I think sometimes we think when we're accountants, we kind of sit at a desk and we kind of crunch numbers all day, and that's completely the opposite of what I've experienced so far, and I'm very pleased with that. And something about Settle & Sonaker, I think our firm has a pretty solid history and a pretty long history with performing some of the audits for the state and different state agencies. And I really feel like I'm learning from the best in the state for audit and assurance services. I think that the partners there and the managers, their combined experience, they're very knowledgeable, very helpful, and they know how to solve problems. And I think that's kind of interesting to learn from them. I wanted to share a little perspective, kind of looking back over the past 2 to 3 years, and give kind of, I guess, share some perspective. While you're here at Concord, I would definitely seek experience, whether that's a semester abroad or maybe that's an internship. Seek out those experiences because they do come in. They do come into play later on in life, especially kind of graduating and searching or beginning the job search. Like Beth said, a lot of the recruiting has already occurred, and I didn't know that. I mean, I learned that very quickly in Morgantown. We actually started recruiting in August, so we were actually recruiting, I guess, beginning the recruiting process before classes even started. And it kind of lasts all year because these firms, they throw around the term that they like to date their potential employees, and it's a very long process. And a lot of times you research these firms in different companies and you're like, oh, I really want to work for them, or I really want to work for them. And then when you actually get in a setting with them and you interact, your attitude and your perception of that firm changes significantly from their website per their conversation with actual employees. Definitely get to know your professors here at Concord. I will say that that's probably one of the biggest advantages that I had going forward, leaving Concord, was I felt that I had a pretty good foundation with knowing some professors, and I think they helped me get to Morgantown and WVU. And I still email and ask questions, and I keep in contact because it's all about building a network. I think that's really important to kind of consider when you're right here. I mean, even before you graduate, you want to start building that network to kind of look for potential employees, for potential employers. Some perspective from WVU and the master's program. Definitely, if it's something you're interested in pursuing, just consider the reasons you want to do it. A lot of people do it to get the 150 hours for the CPA licensure. So that's kind of a benefit, that you get the minimum requirements for the CPA exam and you also earn a master's. Going through the whole recruiting process, I think that the private sector and industry was kind of split. I think private firms or private and public accounting firms, both, they're really looking for the CPA license, whereas if you're going to the industry and business, that master's will help you, but I think they're both instrumental in building your career path. From my, I guess, a couple months working for Settle and Sonaker, I think something that I've noticed is you're going to feel like you really don't know a whole lot going in, but you're going to start pulling things out of memory and things that you've learned here at Concord, and if you go on to get your master's. And it's okay to kind of feel lost. I know that I ask a lot of questions, and I do feel lost most of the days, but that's because I'm learning new things and there are new processes that you have to get used to. Ask lots of questions. I think that I did a pretty good job of this. I don't know if I ask too many questions, but I like to know what I'm doing. I like to be able to kind of get directions and ask the questions and then kind of explain it back to my supervisors and make sure that I'm doing it correctly, because it's very frustrating if you don't know something and you have to ask and you have to just sit there and spin your wheels. And I guess in the firms, more of the mindset is we have to get work accomplished and we have to solve the problems and move on to the next thing because there's more to do. And a lot of times you can kind of get caught with you don't really know what you're doing, so you have to gauge your time and saying, okay, I've tried this for 30 minutes, I've tried everything that I know how to do, I've researched a little bit, I'm still not understanding it, I'm going to go ask someone. And then usually a light bulb comes on and you're good to go. I think it's really important that you share your thoughts and ideas with your colleagues and your supervisors, and challenge sometimes. In our software, we're allowed to leave review notes on some of the work papers that we perform. And one of my managers kept leaving me the same review note, and I didn't understand what she was saying, and she didn't understand what I was doing. It was just so I was challenging her on something, and she said, "That's good." She said, "You need to challenge us more whenever you think that you're right about something." I would definitely participate in firm and group activities. It lets you, I guess, get to know people that you're working with a little better. And I think that's kind of important because you sit in that office with your work family for 8, 9, 10 hours a day sometimes. So it's good to kind of know different people and to kind of get used to them and kind of build either friendships or working relationships. I think the biggest thing that I've learned so far, and I think I saw this somewhere, it was maybe kind of a quote, and I think it really resonates with me, is some days ask questions, and there are a lot of days that have asked questions and that I don't know the answer to. And then there are some days, not very many so far, that will give answers. But I think that's kind of a good thing to remember is you're not going to know everything going in, and you're going to learn. That's kind of the experience, and to be excited to learn. It's a continual process. So that's really all I have to share so far. And I'll turn it over to Andrew Prince.
I'm Andrew Prince. I was 1 year ahead of Adam in school. I also graduated here from Concord in 12, and then I went to WVU for my master's. My story is not a prototypical one. When I went looking for a job, I didn't just go looking for a job. I wanted a market that was going to give me industry that I enjoyed and a firm that kind of had a Concord feel to it. It's nice to me to walk into a room and everyone know my name. I transferred from WVU to here, back to WVU. And the one thing that Concord has really showed me is that it's okay to be in a school that's just maybe smaller. You might miss one opportunity or two opportunities here and there. But getting to know the people, getting to have professors that know your name and show you guidance like that is something that I look for in a firm. So I went through the prototypical WVU recruiting process, and it is not easy. It is kind of a bear. Basically, I think it was my third day in Morgantown. I was getting my suit pressed because I had interviews that evening. A lot of the jobs they were looking for were in the DC area. I am a West Virginia boy. I'm bred here, from a small town. So DC wasn't going to work for me personally. It was not going to be a fit that I was going to enjoy or a place that I was going to succeed. So I started looking around Charleston, West Virginia, and then I started actually going farther south. And I came across a regional firm, Elliott Davis, which I currently work. We're ranked 46th in the top 100 accounting companies in the U.S. We have 8 offices. We have a southeastern regional footprint, and that's where we're going to stay. So the reason I went to Elliott Davis is because the office has been there since July 12th of last year. So basically, I was the first non-experienced staff member they had ever had. So not only did I get to be part of a family, because basically you sit across a small little boardroom from these people for 8 hours a day. They have to answer your questions, much like the guys behind me have already said. So, I was getting a start, but I was also getting to influence the culture of the office itself. Our office started with 16 people last July. We now have 48 people. So not only are we growing, but we're growing exponentially. We're supposed to be over 100 people in less than 3 years. Our Charlotte office started with 24 people, and it took them, this is going on their 6.5 year, they're over 128 people. So we're in a region where we're growing fast. And so I guess my biggest thing I could ever tell you guys is don't just take a job to take a job. Be specific. You are an asset. Everyone will treat you like an asset if you treat yourself like an asset. If you're specific, you'll get where you want. You'll be happy. I never thought I'd leave West Virginia. I really didn't. But ever since I've been in Raleigh, it's a great area for young professionals. Forbes rates it the #1 city in the United States as a place to raise a family. I guess things I've seen, I'm coming up on my first year of being an auditor. They are right. Auditors are not well-liked people. So if you kind of, have to have everybody like you, you might struggle in the beginning. I think, personally, I know Adam was saying that, kind of be open to both audit or tax. I was not that way. I would not have taken a tax job because tax is not for me. I like to be out. I like to see people. I like to be, on a team, and that's the way audit is. Audit's a group of people, almost as a brain trust, if you will, of you and usually 2 other people and a shareholder. And they take your ideas just like, a teacher would. Tax I find to be more linear. Everything just goes up and down the chain. At least in our office, that's the way it works. So, be open, but I really would have a preference in mind because it's one of the most common questions you'll be asked. Trying to think of other things that, as a first year, that I've kind of struggled with. I guess the one thing, if I could sum up my first year as a staff auditor, a senior told me once, he goes, "Andrew, I expect you to know nothing." Well, that's good. I'm right on pace. But I expect you to want to learn everything. You're given so much information in your first year that it can be overwhelming. It is busy. You're going to work, but it's rewarding. I couldn't be happier. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to someone that we haven't heard from yet, Mr. Belcher.
Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome, man.
1 second, sorry. Okay, so my name is Matt Belcher. I'm not an accountant. I did not graduate with an accounting degree. While at Concord, I did a management administrative systems degree. So I'm curious, just real quick, how many people plan on going to graduate school right after Concord? Just by a show of hands. Who plans on entering into the workforce? Okay, just making sure everybody's still with me. If you're going into a teaching field, and this is going to be something I'm just kind of reverbing from your professors, this is what I was told when I was leaving. If you're going into a research and academic field, go on into graduate school. It's a really solid plan. If not, go into the workforce. Sometimes companies will actually pay for your MBA, and that's what's happening in my personal situation. And I'm very fortunate, very blessed to have a company that really values education, and they're actually paying for my MBA. So I took a little downtime. I had probably about 2 or 3 years in between when I graduated here and when I actually started my MBA, but it will be free to me as long as I don't get fired between now and when I finish my program. So when I graduated Concord, I went to Carter Machinery, located out in Green Valley here in Mercer County. So things didn't really pan out there. They had some layoffs. I got laid off. It was pretty devastating. New college graduate. I bought a vehicle, just lost a job. It was a hard place to be in. But I learned a valuable lesson, and that you need to stay in work. You need to stay employed. If you have to sit down across the table from someone and they see a place on your resume where you were unemployed for a certain amount of time, they're going to want to know why. And because I couldn't find a job that suited my interests, that's not really going to fly. Let me just open my notes real quick so I don't miss something. So that's one tip that I would like to give you guys is always stay employed. Don't think that a job is beneath you, whether it's McDonald's or Advanced Auto or CEO level type stuff. And that's mainly because all of these corporations, no matter where it is, even McDonald's, they have great opportunities in moving up. So you may start out at the back drive-through window at McDonald's, but you can end up actually owning 3 or 4. And if you guys want just kind of a fun project, research McDonald's owners. I don't know what they're doing for the health crisis in America, but they're certainly making a lot of money. So that's something that I definitely is a takeaway. After I went to Carter and things didn't work out there, I went to Dish Network, where I was in loyalty or customer retention. So basically, when you got angry with the people on the phone and you said, "I want to cancel, I hate you," they said 1 second, and they sent you to me. So that was really miserable, and I got yelled at and cussed out. But it taught me a lot because that's life. You're going to come across people that you're going to have to deal with that are going to be jerks, whether it's your boss, your subordinate, a coworker, your mentor, or your buddy. I don't think either one of these guys are jerks. I'm just saying. You may come across them, and in that case, thankfully, Dish Network taught me how to deal with them. And it's really just being patient with them, understanding it's probably not you. They're probably just having a bad day. So with that, know your boss in whatever situation you're in. Are they the type of boss that's encouraging you? Do they want to see you succeed? Or should you just get the experience and recognize you're going to have to kind of ladder hop in your career? Because there's always that possibility. There's companies you can get with. It sounds like the previous speakers all have phenomenal companies that they can move up in. But let's say you're fortunate, you get a job right out, and you can't move up in it. Your boss is a complete jerk and doesn't want to see you aspire anything beyond where you are. That can be for a number of reasons. But the thing is get the experience that you can and recognize to move up, you may have to change careers and be proactive in that nature. Even if you are in a position like I was at Dish, always keep in mind that your name is really all you have. When you graduate here, you're going to be going into a workforce where everyone has a similar degree to you, very similar in nature, if it's not the exact same degree. I mean, you're looking people beside of you. When you go into the workforce, they're going to be also there trying to get a job with you. So you want to have your name and your resume to kind of lean back onto and say, I did this, I did that. You know, always kind of keep in the back of your mind what you've done. So that's always a really good thing to have in the back of your mind, because when I left Dish, I actually used some of the qualities and skill sets at Dish Network to get me my current job, which is at Energy Corporation of America, where I'm a land analyst. So we're an exploration and production company in natural oil and gas. We take leases, we take deals, we take land swaps, obligations, and things like that. And when we bring them into the company, we have to be made aware of what we need to do. So if we have to make payments at a certain time, if we have to drill wells at certain times, our company has to know that. And my position takes those agreements, those documents, those leases, and we funnel it into a system that actually manages all of that so that we can be aware of upcoming obligations. So with that, it's just very important throughout your career, always try and keep a running tally of what you know, because this sounds crazy, but you'll forget what you know if you didn't write it down. And that's any kind of skill set you have, whether it's, for mine, it was escalated call situations. Well, when I was originally hired, I was going to have to deal with landowners that would probably call and be just as angry as these individual customers were. So doing that, you'll be able to really keep in mind your different attributes. And then just kind of a couple of personal little nuggets that I found to be really helpful. When I was graduating, one of the professors here told me to be proactive and not reactive. And that's a really hard stance, because coming out, you're already in a reactive stance because you're looking for a job, you don't have a job, so you don't get to really make the calls, but you can in certain areas. So I would recommend you always be thinking about what your next couple of moves are going to be, and kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Let's see, be realistic about things. If you want a $1 million home and a $1 million vehicle, that's fine, go get it, but go get it because you want it. If it's not something you want, you're not going to be happy either way. And at a job you're going to spend 40 plus hours at, you want to be happy. You don't want to be miserable, because if you go in every day, it's gonna ripple out through your entire life. You're not going to be happy with it. As you can tell, these guys seem very happy about their companies. They're here, they're promoting them. I am. If you're miserable at your job, it's going to ripple into your life. You definitely want to be conscious of that. And don't be afraid to be abnormal. Don't be afraid to kind of seek things that other people want. If you're following the 9-to-5 regimen and you feel like you can't stand it anymore, try a company. Try starting your own company. Be realistic about it. Don't just take out a small business loan and put your sign up, but really explore possibilities. Don't think that you have to go with the majority flow just because it's what the majority's doing. Don't be afraid to kind of break out of that and kind of do your own thing. A lot of people have done that, and they've done really well at it. They've changed our economy. They've changed our research. And I myself am a Christian. I believe that you should be a part of a good church, a good body of believers, a good people. Surround yourself with good people at all times, because the people that you're around, the habits that you pick up, it's kind of shocking how it affects your life. And you definitely want to be proactive in that nature and kind of really get engaged with good people that are going to be encouraging to you, that are going to be building you up and not tearing you down. So that's my spiel. I tried to keep it short and sweet because I'm the last guy, and you guys definitely don't want me talking a lot. So I guess I'll bring Miss Dr. Robinette back.
You guys have any questions or things for them?
What required class that you had to take here or elective did you take that was probably the most helpful in your job?
Did you guys hear that in the back?
Man, I'll grab the mic.
My first?
I have
Go ahead.
They know the answer.
I really enjoy Dr. Canlarian's ethics class because I think that you're going to, I think already even 3 to 4 months into my career, there's already been some ethical situations that you'll come across, and you have to kind of have to replay that from Concord. That would be the class that I think I hold dearest to me and to my career right now. I think, and the class in Morgantown is a research class. It's a tax research class. I spent 20, 30 hours plus at the law library, several weeks that semester for that one particular class. It was very strenuous. I thought that I was a law student at one time. The law students thought I was a law student at one time. Because when you go to the resource desk and you're like, I need the code, and she looks at you and she's like, the tax code? I'm like, yeah, I need the whole tax code, and it's like this thick. She just shoves it across. You've got to kind of have to delve through it. But I think that the research component will help you, because I think that there are a lot of problems in accounting with tax and audit, and there are different bodies, and you have to understand their function, and you have to understand their organization and kind of how to process their rulings and their decision and their requirements. So I think the research component is probably my favorite.
I think from grad school perspective, for me personally, I was kind of an introvert in college. I wasn't the most outgoing kind of person. So we actually were given a project where 3 of us were basically helping an individual who like Mr. Belcher had said, started a company from scratch on a piece of land and 1 truck. And he turned this, 1 tract of land and 1 truck into 25 trucks and $2 million in land that he was renting out to natural gas companies. Well, he didn't understand tax law. He was an operations guy. That is all he'd done. So they brought us 3 grad students in, and I think the project was awesome. But the thing that I enjoyed the most and I learned the most from was being able to relate to a client one-on-one, so that I knew what I was getting into when I decided to go into auditing. Because basically, long story short, it ended up the news that he thought he was going to get. He thought he was going to be being reimbursed for about $160,000 in taxes, but his real estate agent screwed it up and did not give them a triple net lease, if you know what that is. So he was actually responsible for that. And sitting down with him across table to table and actually like having to relay that to him was the thing that prepared me the most as a student for the professional life. My favorite class I ever took, and the reason I actually went to grad school at WVU, was a fraud examination class that we had here. There were only 3 students at Concord that took it. And for some reason, I really enjoyed that class. And then the emphasis that West Virginia has, where they have forensic accounting, made me really want to go. And so I ended up, moving on up, I guess. And so those are my 2 favorite experiences.
It's been so long. Don't really remember all the classes I took. Something that I didn't know that I was going to need as much, which might not be exactly what you're asking, but a lot of auditing is also writing and communicating. So those classes really came in handy. Also HR, I know I took an HR class here, and the whole idea of public accounting is to pull yourself up to be an owner of the company. So you end up having to deal with personnel issues and stuff like that. So you really need to know how to communicate with people. So that's all I can remember, really.
I think I'd have to agree. The business communications course here at Concord was really great. You can be the most intelligent person in the world, and if you write an email that's horrific, you're not going to make it very far. You've got to be able to articulate your ideas. And then thus far in my master's level, I'd say my legal environment, and it discusses how the government influences the economy and how that works together. And it's just been really interesting knowing how government influences it and how the business world works with government regulatory environments.
If anybody's happy for business comm, I did not pay him to say that.
So from the firm perspective, what do you all feel like accounting firms feel about, like, I'm on a 5-year track, I plan on going to Morgantown for my master's as well. I know traditionally if you're on a 4-year track, you're looking for a big internship the summer of your junior year to sort of maybe lead into possible career opportunities. What do firms feel about like a junior on a 5-year track? Are they still looking at possible summer position, or do they want you to be the summer of your senior year then?
We have had interns that have started after their first year, and they've interned with us for 3 years and then got a job. You don't have to have an internship. An internship's a good thing. Making those contacts, even if you're not going to meet the firms or anything like that, if you just call people, keep in touch with different firms, then you can get that. I know I took 5 years. I didn't get my master's. I got my 150 hours. They hired me. I didn't have an internship anywhere, so I don't know how it is.
I think for us, especially from the interns I actually had an intern on our tax side that I was her buddy, if you will. She had not had an accounting class yet. She would just finish her sophomore year. So when it comes to internships, the more experience you can bring, the better. And the fact that if you've been there for 3 summers, that means if you would come back as a first-year staff, I have so much less I have to actually teach you. So you're already that far ahead of the curve. So if you can, my suggestion is do both. You know, if you want to do it as in the summer of your junior year and the summer of your senior year, I would strongly suggest that. But I think our most prototypical for a student that's in a 5-year track is they do it after their senior year, most likely before they will start a master's program or something such as that, or their last year. But that I would do both, really.
Just real quick, because you talked about a buddy, can you just, and I don't know, maybe your company has it too, the mentoring buddy system, kind of give them an idea of what that might be? Because I know a lot of companies are going that way.
Yeah, I think most public accounting firms have a buddy system. We actually just had mentors, and this year they decided to change it up a little bit. So when you first get hired, you are assigned a buddy, and that's somebody that you can come to with all your questions about expense reimbursement forms or how to do certain things, because at that point you don't necessarily need a mentor. After the buddy system, about 2 years you have a buddy, then you move on to a coach, and that's somebody that can help you learn more if you're struggling, somebody that you can talk to. When you start out, you might not feel comfortable going to the main boss. That might be intimidating, but a buddy, a coach is somebody that you can go to that will kind of help you along your way. When you're about 4 or 5 years in, if you decide that that's the path that you want to take, then you get a mentor, and they're going to teach you how to run the firm and how the things that you need to do to rise up to that level. I know now they're making us do 5-year plans. We have goals. This is meeting one of my goals, so pretty excited about that. But you have yearly goals, you have to hit them. It's pretty, cut and dry how you can, the things that you need to do to move up. But if you ever have problems too with people that you're working with, a buddy, a coach, mentors, that's somebody that you can go to that can maybe solve your problems for you or help you out. Somebody you feel safe with.
Basically, our system's the same, except it runs concurrently. So basically, your pal, which is our version of a buddy, will be like a senior or someone you work closely with on a day-to-day basis that you can learn from and grow from. But you'll also have a coach that you're assigned in your first year, which will normally be upper-level management, senior manager, shareholder, and basically the shareholder or the senior manager, you set up a lunch or a happy hour or just a time to meet, and you talk about your monthly goals, your yearly goals, how you're going about completing this. Also, like she said, this is one of my goals that I'm required to have completed by the end of the year. I would have came anyways, though. But yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of great because you get to see, like she said, sometimes people are a little bit nervous to go talk to the head honcho, if you will. But if you've already been to lunch with him 3 times, basically my coach now, he's the shareholder on the audit side, and I go to soccer games with him every Saturday, basically with his family. And we've gotten that close just because of it's so easy once you've met with a person a couple times to, really open up and get the help from it.
I know our company does it as well. We're very similar in all those natures. The only thing that we have that's different is you are paired with a mentor that you will not report to. So I'm in land, my actual mentor is the manager of production. So it's just someone that you won't end up reporting to that can kind of help you get to know the company, the industry itself, and just kind of give you a little bit of help.
Any other questions? A good resource. Do you have a question? You all have any questions for me?
But really, great to see you guys keep on coming back, keep on inspiring our students, and then bring every year new information as you interact. And I'm sure 5-10 years down the road, your idea will change towards the most valuable. Thank you.
All right, any questions? Okay. I think both of you all mentioned at one point, they were sitting where you all were sitting. We've been doing the Symposium series quite a while, and we hope maybe in a couple, 2, 3, 4 years, you'll come back as an alumni and talk to our students and do that. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. And you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy home